Sorry for joining late, but we are here to the official Order Status 2.0 launch party. Just a few bits of housekeeping before we get started here. Obviously, Raj is going to take this and run with the party, and then I'll follow up at the end of the webinar. But a few cool things happening in promo standards land. Obviously, 2 months ago, we launched OSN 2.0. This is the second half of that with OS 2.0, big launch today. So you'll be seeing press releases and things like that. Obviously, we're bringing it to you here first in the community, and then we'll let the masses know over the next few days. But stay tuned for next month. We are going to start to announce the details of our virtual hackathon that's going to be in September. We're assembling some teams, team leaders, all that fun stuff. So that's going to be happening. We're excited about that. Next month also will be the service provider committee that Promo Standards has been working on some pretty cool stuff. So Schultz and his crew are going to roll through kind of some of the things they've been working on. We're trying to solve that gap for who to go to for help if you can't do it yourself, or if you're looking for some resources around Promo Standards. So we're going to tackle that. And then obviously there's going to be a ton of news come late July and early August for the Tech Summit, which is in Tampa. The details of the date is already on the site. I might be joining here from my computer here in a second, not my phone. Either way, there's a lot that's going to be brewing over the next few months. So make sure you stay active in Slack. And yeah, so Raj, are you ready to take this thing over here?
Yes, I am.
All right, so Raj, you're going to run with, he's going to do a walkthrough. He's going to do the whole thing here. And it should be pretty good. So Raj, no pressure, but don't let us down.
I will let you know. All right.
All right, it's all you, Raj.
All
Get
right,
after it.
Okay. Let me start sharing my screen. Do this from beginning. Let me know, John and Jessica, you guys are able to see my PowerPoint presentation, correct?
Yes, I can see it.
Beautiful. All right. So Order Status 2.0 is, I guess, what I'll be discussing. I was thinking we were supposed to discuss cybersecurity attacks, but we'll discuss Order Status 2.0 today. Just kidding. So the way the status came about, I distinctly remember it was pre-COVID. Well, I want to discuss this, why this service was built and created in a fashion that it did, because those questions still linger in my head on the type of thought process we had when we decided to build this. This was pre-chatbots. At that time, this was like 2020, pre-COVID. At that time, when we in the industry would think of chatbots, we are thinking John Norris on Halo or playing a video game and being a chatbot talking to people. No, we were thinking pretty futuristic with Order Status 2.0. Again, this is pre-COVID, right? We obviously had great year, like coming up to Promo Standards 2018, 2019, we delivered pricing and config, purchase order, etc. invoice, where we were like, okay, let's revamp Order Status 2.0. And so that is what we built as a team, as a community. I still remember we were at the Proforma headquarters. And if you Google Proforma and Promo Standards, you'll see us talking about, or you'll see the group that came about this one. So this is me, Raj. I've been part of the Promo Standards community since 2016. It's been a great journey. I think it's one of the best thing that probably has happened to the industry, knowing the history of the industry. And again, I'm not the industry veteran like some of you guys, but in the last 10 years I've been here, definitely one of the best community to be part of, best tech community. Suppliers, distributors alike, service providers, we all get along, and we come towards and build something that's open, free for you, so free for all to use. So it has been great. So I know this, I copied this slide from a previous meeting. So again, like I said, we collaborate, working on creating open standards, improving customer experience. So improving customer experience is why I was interested in keeping this slide, because what I'm going to be talking about is going to improve customer experience. It would reduce transactional friction, and it will literally force you to execute your digital strategy. So this is one of those standards that will allow you to do all of these. Okay. So this service was made by not just one person, but the whole standards committee. Although I will give a special note to Stephen Lucier, he did do a lot of hard work back and forth doing the documentation and XSD. He does get special credits. So the reason we wanted to build order status was to align it with PO. Also, order shipment notification was getting a revision, and we wanted all of those data objects to be aligned. That was the initial strategy of what we were thinking of what order status should become, right? There were some feedbacks, hey, certain things work, certain things don't work. But the main objective was, how do we standardize the data objects? And that was primarily the focus, right? Nothing special, but it ended up being something far more. So again, the purchase order standard came about. Order status, I believe, was the first one. Again, my memory may be incorrect there. I think order status or maybe inventory was the first one. But anyway, one of the first standards was order status. It was probably built around a meeting and then in a bar somewhere. So probably not a lot of thoughts into the data objects was given. And so again, we as developers, as engineers, we are very particular about those data objects. And so we were like, hey, like, how can we standardize this? So that was, again, the initial objective. While working on that initial objective, we realized, hey, the order status is bringing about two separate things, right? Is giving you the status of your order as a distributor or a service provider. When you're sending the order to a supplier, obviously you want to know the status of your order. So it's delivering you that one aspect of it. But we realize it's also giving you the aspect of if there are issues with the order as well, right? If you remember order status 1.0, and some of you obviously do, there's proof hold, art hold, etc. Or I think this is art hold, entry hold. Anyway, those holes are kind of like problems. So what we did in order status 1.0 was merge status of the order with problems of the order together, and we wanted to break that up. So that was something we did as a group focus on. And when we realized, okay, we want to break out the issues as a separate thing, then we start thinking, okay, how can we communicate the issues? There could be so many issues with the order, right? You can be sending me a massive dropship list, and I could be having a huge dropship list problem. You could be sending me artwork that's incorrect. Your customer account, unfortunately, could be on credit hold, and that needs to be removed. There could be shipping hold. Maybe you did not pass me the shipping account number. There's all these different problems that happen throughout the life cycle of the order. And how do we communicate those issues correctly was obviously a motive. Then the other aspect that came about, okay, look, if we can build order status 2.0 to understand those problems and effectively build a streamlined communication with the CSR rep on the supplier side, handling the order all the way back to the end user that's working with the distributor, we may truly achieve something groundbreaking here. So that's what the team did, I believe. So anyway, going to the RFS, make the data structure align with the PO standard, right? Obviously clarify, well, hey, what is being shipped? So in the order status, some ask for, hey, can I see some product level detail? Also, can I start understanding back order situations that may happen? That was some of the requirements or feedback we got. Some of the order metadata like how is the order being shipped, etc. Like ship date, enhanced date, obviously, we do not want to break that. We want to keep that. Keep best practices, making sure it belongs to this pro architecture. That was again part of the requirements. We didn't want to break that completely, but we did in a certain level. I'll go over that soon. Again, definition of success was build a service that obviously aligns distributed suppliers together, third-party providers, and again, streamlining communication. So here is 2.0 side by side with 1.0 from a request standpoint. As you can see, there's a lot more fields. 1.0, this was essentially had your ID, your password. Hey, what kind of query are you passing? 1 and 2 was like purchase order, sales order, where you pass the reference numbers. And then the type 3 you would associate with the timestamp, and type 4 here was, hey, give me all open orders. That was 1.0. We kind of kept the same thing. One thing we did change is the query type, rather than being an integer, we made it a kind of like an enumerated string. So if you're using Java or .NET, now instead of getting those variables that end up being integers, they are going to be strings. So it's like cleaner looking code. Again, we as developers and engineers, we like that. The reference number is still the same. The query type is a little different. We'll discuss that. The password, obviously, IDW's version, those kind of remain the same. Status timestamp, again, very similar to what was. You obviously added a little bit more guidance as to when you're building this, what you should take into account of. Like we always recommend UTC because UTC will allow like all these time zone problems to go away, right? Then these two things are new. So what this is saying is, hey, do I want to know if there's issues on a specific order, do I want to know what the details of these issues are? This is a Boolean you may or may not pass. Similarly, do I want to know what product or what items are part of the order status that's being returned? Do I want to get that data, or yes or no? And the reason behind that was backwards compatibility. So if you set these two things to false, other than a little bit of tweak on your code on the consumption side, you can still get the 2.0 object returned, and with very minimal code, make it function with you. And then as you develop or engineer your systems, you can start using these two fields. So we kept in mind, hey, we wanted to keep this backwards compatible, which is why these two things are not required. And if you are setting these, then the advanced version of Order Status 2.0 comes into place. So the same service, same method, very similar method, has the capability of returning you the base object that you're used to in the 1.0. Not the same exact one, but similar. And can also give you an advanced data set. So just to keep things into perspective, this one, return issue detail type, is an indication, do I want to know about what problems do I have with the order with granular details, with resolution process, like inside an object. And then this return product detail is, do I want to know what items are part of the order and quantities, etc. Okay. So order status object, you have the purchase order number, the familiar purchase order number, the familiar order status detail array, the array of order status details. It's a required array. So I don't remember, top of my head, order status 1.0, I believe this was false, which you would have to do workarounds. If the purchase order or reference number I passed was incorrect, you have to deduce that there was nothing, but this becoming a required field, now you would know if the array is empty, that maybe the transaction ID you passed is not correct. The order URL is it's almost like a URL. If I was hit, I have a URL, which we have not implemented yet at hit. We want to, which is like order confirmation page tied to the specific order, which only the specific customer can see. That's how I would do it, which is a visualization, right? In hit, we are used to sending those order confirmations via email, but this is a much better method because you can just directly go to a URL to our website and potentially look at the order details. Obviously, if you're implementing this as a supplier, you want to make sure only that specific customer has access to this. If you're working with a third-party provider, make sure the third-party provider has access to that distributor's order, and then allow the URL to be accessed. In my end, I'm obviously going to integrate this with Okta so that only certain customers can look at this. Okay, so the query types, I think I mentioned that a little bit. As you can see, these are the enumerator values. Do I want to search by pure? Do I want to search by SO? Again, if you're programming, these are coming in as drop downs on your variable rather than variables that are then tied to an integer. Again, I feel like this is a lot cleaner looking. Last update time behaves the same way as your query type 3 used to behave in order status 1. All open is, again, all your open orders. But here's a new one, the all open issues. Okay, give me the orders that have issues, right, with the status open or pending. Okay, let me discuss the status of open or pending a little bit. So through this service, there would be stuff that I will talk about where there is a potential to resolve certain problems. And so when you're resolving a problem, let's say I was missing a dropship list, and through another service or email, however, you provided me the dropship list, that would probably go to a pending status because someone will have to review it and then approve. So the two statuses, either the issue is open and nothing has been done, or if it's pending because maybe some additional details were passed and still pending review before the issue is completely closed up. That's where the status kind of comes in play. Okay. On the return issue detail type, that was another enumerator variable, if you remember. If you say no issues, then obviously the object will come back with nothing included. If you want the open issues, only the open issues will be included. If you do all issues, all issues, including closed issues, will be included part of the order object, order status object. So this is where if you wanted to know, hey, I want to know historically in the all issues, what happened to this order, you could query this and find this. Keeping tabs on my time, probably have 15 more minutes. On the order status detail object, we have the sales order number, the status. We kind of we'll go over that soon. The issue category, what kind of issue this is, like, is it what kind of hold the order is at. The status is your traditional status. Is it in production? Is it in shipping? Is it shipped? Is it invoiced? That's what the status is doing, and the issue category is if there's an issue with the order. So as you can see, this in version 1, it was just one status with everything including issues. Now it's broken out into status and issue category. The expected ship date, delivery date is the same as how it was. The required shipping date and the required enhanced date. Any additional explanation, that stays the same. We at HIT would sometimes prove the proof URL as part of the additional explanation in 1.0, which some distributors would consume. Obviously, we have broken that out into a URL of its own. So if you wanted a proof URL, this would be available here. So if you already need a proof and you need to approve it, I will provide you right here. Order contact array is very similar to what you saw in the purchase order. Basically, if there's an issue with the order, you would want to know, hey, who is my CSR rep? if there's an issue with shipping, I will probably, if I'm hit, I may give you my shipping contact. If you have an issue with anything with the finance aspect, maybe I'll give you my finance contact, right? So that's what the order contact has now the capability for you as a supplier to tell your distributors to connect to who you want them to connect to, rather than a random person. I'm not saying that happens, but this is much better. Product array is very similar to what you have already seen in shipment notification 2.0, or similar to what you've seen in the purchase order. Like you have your product, you have your SKUs, you have your quantity, all of that listed here. And this is the issue array. So it's an array of issues if the order has issues. And again, like I went over that a little bit, which is, I'll go over the issue object in detail very soon, but again, if the order has issues, I'm providing you the issues with the order in this issue array. Right. The contact on the product object, I just wanted to go over a little bit. As you can see, I have the product ID, on the product object, or the product ID, the part ID, the sales order line number, the purchase order line number. How much did you order? How much did you ship? Is there an issue with this specific line? Maybe I'm on back order hold here, right? And the status, right? So again, very similar to how the status and the issue was on the top level. I can even now go to the product level and get you that minute detail, right? Maybe line 1 is shipped, line 2 is on back order hold. I can now provide you that granular detail into the lines itself. If that were to happen, obviously, overall, I would say my order is on back order hold on the top level. But on the line level, you may see that, hey, line 1 is shipped. I can consume OSN, find that tracking ID, tie it to the product that got shipped. So as you can see, OSN 2.0 and OS 2.0 can work really great in conjunction for your back order understanding of where we at. Okay, that's the product object. Contact, I kind of mentioned it. You could have specific people on the contact object that you want your users to talk to, based on the situation, like shipping versus customer service versus finance, etc. Okay, knowing that I have I'll spend 10 more minutes on this. I have the issue object. This is the new object we added, or vision we had, was how do I communicate issues back to distributors and third-party providers, all the way potentially to the end users. Obviously, suppliers are supposed to have unique issue IDs to their orders, right? A status of the issue, is the issue open, pending, closed, etc. The category of the issues, like is it a proof type issue, is it drop ship, etc. Is it a shipping issue? All these are enumerated values. This is where I can just put a name, like I as a person. I mean, it's recommended to use the issue category if you do not have a name, but you can put a specific name to it. Some people may start using Asana or Jira to the specific issue. Maybe you can include your ticket number here. Some customer service reps do that. Doesn't need an urgent response or not. So if the order is on credit hold and the order needs to ship tomorrow, maybe urgent response is required. A description of the issue. This could be like, if I'm a supplier, I'm building the system, either let the CSR type what the issue is, or have a generic issue. Like if you systematically find out that, okay, the order is missing a ship date, missing a shipping account number, you can systematically describe the problem. This is great. Us developers love the due date. Well, you can now provide due dates back to your distributor or your third-party provider by saying, when can I get a response by? Because there are certain suppliers, including us in certain cases, if we don't get a response within a certain date or time, we may even cancel the order, put the order on hold. So there is that date that we will pass that's saying, hey, please give us an answer by this date so that the order can ship on time. This is the heavy part. This is a resolution URL. I'll talk about this. It's very much tied to the parameter object, which I'll discuss very soon, or with the resolution itself. But in a nutshell, if I did not go over the resolution array, or if which I'll cover very soon, if I did not want to implement that, issue resolution URL is a URL where you can go and fix the problem. So if I'm a supplier and I don't want to build automated systems of fixing problems, I just want my customer to go to a page and put in their shipping account number that they're missing, or putting in their dropship list that they're missing, or fix the date that they have missed, or change the item that they want to change because one is in backorder status. This is where you put that URL. What is where a distributor or a third-party provider can go to the URL and end user can fix it. I would recommend these URLs be able to be iframed so that if I am a third-party provider, then I can iframe these things into my system, and then the end user is staying within that system. But again, depends on how you want to implement as a supplier. Okay, this is an array of, so this is a URL-driven approach, and this resolution array is more systematic. Resolution array for a given issue will have it's like answers that you can pick. So for a given problem, here are some answers that the supplier is recommending. So let's say you have an item that's on back order hold. Here are some items that you can substitute. I would provide that in the resolution object array. The other case could be, hey, your ship date, if you wanted to expedite shipping, here are some shipping methods I want you to pick. Because maybe it's on under your account, or maybe it's under our account, but because obviously that involves money, maybe I want you to pick the proper ship method so we can ship on time. Those type of scenarios, instead of letting a person go to a URL, or maybe your shipping address is bad, I could provide you recommended addresses through this resolution object. Okay, rather than giving you these responses as an object, if I wanted you to go to your URL, you could do that. Or as a supplier, you can generate these possible solutions, either through a CSR entering those solutions or systematically coming up with the solutions. You're able to pass that here. Issue blocking status. This is supposed to indicate, hey, if you don't resolve this problem, what's the next status you're blocking, right? So for instance, let's say you do not have your shipping account, maybe it's going to block shipping. Or the status ship would not be allowed. Or if there's a proof hold, maybe it's going to block production, right? So this is a very cool feature added, where you also have a guesstimate as to what workflow, what part of the workflow are you impacting by not resolving this issue. The contact array, very similar. Who are you going to contact to resolve the issue? So I am able to provide, hey, if it's a shipping problem, maybe work with my shipping person, logistics person. If I have a credit hold problem, work with my credit hold person. I also pass you the product ID just so that you, even though you have some of this embedded, but I'm also giving you the product ID and the part ID because you may need that. As you can see, the product ID and part ID are here. This will obviously help you understand what products or parts that you have an issue with. Resolution object. Like I said, these are a bunch of like answers that I can give to a specific problem. I should be passing your unique ID to a resolution, a name, a detailed description, and a parameter array. Now, this is where we actually went beyond 2020 on our thought process. Like, we really expanded it to work with any type of application. Call it chatbot, chat GPT, cool modern UI, whatever you want to think of. This parameter object with the resolution object can interface with those systems, with any type of data science engine, AI engine, to a cool UI that you want to build. This can interface with that, because what this is telling you, hey, part of the resolution, I'm giving you, just like on an HTML form, every field has a limit, a type of field, etc., where I want that field to display. So let's say I'm collecting address. I want address 1 to come first, address 2 to come second. I'm able to do that with the display order of the parameter. I'm able to say what type of data should be captured in the parameter. What's the name of the parameter? What's the ID? Is it required or not? What's the length of the parameter? Think of this. If you are a programmer and you have built HTML forms, which everyone has, you're able to literally build the HTML form from, hey, also we are providing you the purchase order field name that you can map back to your system. So if you have, as a supplier, a purchase order that you've consumed, and you can map the promo standards purchase order field to a value in your ERP or system, you're able to also indicate, hey, what field of the purchase order, promo standards purchase order field does this belong to? So let's say it's required date, you can provide that. You can also, we also have version into consideration. So let's say promo standards purchase order goes to version 3. 5 years from now, this can still function because it has a version enabled to the field that it wants to map to. And a valid response array. So this is for like drop down. So let's say state is invalid. I can probably provide you the US states as a valid parameter responses, and the user will pick from the drop down of values those and return that. Or it could be dates. It could be ship methods that I'm returning as a array of values, and you're generating that HTML form and resolving the problem. So very futuristic. I'm going to kind of wrap it up. There's some guidance, and I'm sure Jessica will share the slide with you all. But like I said, these are some of the guidance that as a group we have thought that, hey, when you're implementing this, working through this, what are the objects and how you should populate. Like on the contact details, please have an address, email, phone. Service message array, like please provide some details. Last update, at least go back 7 days. Like some very specific areas that we wanted to like go over, like guidance wise. And so the takeaways before I hand this over to John, again, standardizes to match PO spec. The order issue object we went over, the resolution object we went over. If you wanted to not do a lot of work to jump from 1.0 to 2.0, you can. You have products and parts. You have the ability to handle back orders and still is a full service. But as you can see, if you remember how certain fields, like certain values of the issue, do you want to get the issues back? Do you want to get the products returned? You have the ability to toggle them off, and you can have a very similar data structure that you're used to and still be able to function. So those are the takeaways. And at that, my slide ends. I have a live demo that I can go over, unless John, you want to.
Do it. I only need like 5 minutes. You have another 15 minutes if you want.
All right. Hold on 1 second. All right, let me get the application loaded.
While Raj is doing that, just chop in. One of the things that, if you read the text on what Eric mentioned, that a lot of these standards that we develop, we have to future-proof them and develop them really for 5 years in the future, knowing how long these are going to be and need to be supported in the wild. So if you look at some of the last few slides that Raj went over and your head was exploding, like, well, my system can't do that today. That's okay, right? Not a lot of systems can do it, but we know that this is the direction that systems need to take in order to do workflow automation, to really streamline the order process and the communication between the suppliers, distributors, and service providers. So if you're sitting at this, be like, oh my God, like I don't have this stuff split out today. Like, don't panic, like Raj said at the end. It's not a huge jump to support the bare minimum. But the biggest thing is if you can split out issues from order statuses, now you can start communicating better data along your supply chain. And then that helps, the proof holds, credit holds, inventory back order holds. Those are the easy ones that we all know are happening. You can just pick those off. There's a handful of quick wins here. So I'm going to shut up and let Raj do his live demo.
No. And then to top or add to what John said, digital transformation, this is a project that's going to force you to do digital transformation. Regardless of what type of ERP you have, what type of system you have, your order entry team is already entering ship dates. They're already changing items if something is on back order hold. They're already updating shipping address. They're already uploading drop ship data for you to drop ship. They're doing all these things at various aspects in your system. You're allowing them to do that. Now, what you have to do is figure out the specific areas and add some sort of application to allow them to do that. Like, you could deploy this internally to your customer service first. That's what HIT is planning to do. We're planning to deploy this internally to our customer service, use these issues, let customer service resolve these problems, talking to distributors before we kind of spit it out to the wild, like the customers itself, and let them self-manage these. We're allowing the customer service to solve these problems, talking to the customers, and then we'll make this application externally available. By then, I've already done what I needed to do. So anyway, this is a very simple snippet of the application. I've broken down the application we have built internally into a small section that I will be uploading some of this code to the GitHub. What it has done is very simply code that has been able to pull all the open orders from my customer. I'm going to name the customer. And it shows that, hey, this order is in production. And I'm again showing a very specific portion of what I'm able to do. I'm able to, let's say, update the shipping address. Now, this updating shipping address is because I have an issue with the shipping address, and I only specifically focus on orders with ship address problems. This has another service that I don't know if it's okay for me to, John, talk about order management or.
Do it.
Yeah, so this service, order status, as you saw, there's a resolution that I'm trying to tell as a supplier, hey, if these are the possible values you can pass. But a distributor wants to be able to pass that data back, right? This is where I'm able to do this. There's another service that we as a committee worked on for order management that goes hand in hand with order status for you to be able to resolve these problems. And I'm sure John will have an education session on order management very soon. But that service has allowed me to go as a CSR. Let's say I'm like, hey, I did get the shipping address. I can go in, I can click this, I can fix the shipping address. Like, not gonna put bad zip code, but I can fix the zip code here, change the address. That goes in my workflow system. Someone, if it's an order value less than a certain threshold, automatically fixes it. Otherwise, goes to a manager, they approve it. So I have a workflow embedded into this. But I can obviously, this is interacting with the order management service, which obviously HIT has built or published, but more so, it shows you the capability of how order status 2.0 with order management can play such a significant role in telling me what hey, there's a shipping address problem, and then order management allowing me to fix that problem with a simple UI like this. So again, I think this is the next stage of taking the industry to the digital transformation that we want. So let's do it.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Raj. Yeah, I think digital transformation gets thrown around very loosely in the industry, and you get a lot of people that want some concrete evidence of what digital transformation is. This is it, right? This is, stop the person-to-person communication, emails, let systems do this, and then utilize the personnel to come in and make the educated decisions and place these updates directly in systems using promo standards for the automation side of it. So like Raj says, this was developed in tandem with an order management service that is still being betaed and alphaed through certain groups. I know the standards committee has been kicking it around, but there's a second half of this is, now that we've identified the resolution, yes, in the order status 2.0 service, you can resolve it via URL. So if you actually implement star lines today, our URL for the proof hold is going to be the proof resolution. You go in there and proof the proof, get it moving. Same thing if it's on credit, there's a URL to go in there and settle your credit issue, all that stuff. So this stuff is out there in the wild and is I would say the closest concrete evidence to digital transformation we have today. So real quick, just some follow-up housekeeping on the standard. We have currently posted it live to promo standards. So you see it right here is order status 2.0. It's in production and live. If you view it, you get the documentation. If you download it, you get the zip file, which has the WSDLs, the XSDs, the technical documentation. I also, if you're following along with some banter in Slack, I uploaded the PDF of the documentation to the general channel in Slack. Right now, both Starline and HIT have published live their OS 2.0 endpoints. Starlines is here, or you can come up here and say HIT promo, and then HIT also with one of their 14 live services is here, order status 2.0. So if you want to poke around with some things that are out there in the wild and see what's different, and you can definitely hit our endpoints. If you're a supplier that's sitting on the fringes, I would tell you there are a few very significant players in the industry who are actively consuming the service. They were part of our beta group and they've put it into production. So you're not going to be wasting your time. This is that next step, that next level service for promo standards. It's taking us out of the, I guess, basic information about orders and to the supply chain automation about orders.
But I think also as a community, we should be proud of now that you think of ChatGPT and now that you think of what we just have built, it kind of can work with those applications. And we built it before ChatGPT came into existence. So you can see how the standards committee is thinking on solving future problems. Like again, this was built 2020. Or started in the 2020. So hats off to this.
Yeah. Raj kind of, he's on the standards committee, so he probably downplays a little bit of their monumental lift here. But this is one of the newer standards that has flushed through a new software development lifecycle, to where there was actually, this thing was supposed to get released 3-4 months ago, but there was a bug that was found in the final review stages when people went to implement it. And that kind of is a testament to our newfound processes. Yes, on one hand, they slow down a little bit, but they are very necessary to make sure that what we're releasing has been implemented by quite a few suppliers, distributors, and service providers to make sure. And we caught some things that were, I think Robert you called out a few. Actually, it came out of the Tech Summit after people reviewed it when we were talking about it there. So kudos to that group for quickly getting this up to date and up to speed. If you're interested in service there, it's a very thankless committee, but that's where a lot of the grit and engineering and development of promo standards comes out of that group. So kudos to them. I think they knocked it out of the park on this one. They have a ridiculous slate of things they're working on right now. So Raj teased order management. There's a few other ones that are probably equally as impactful. So I guess if you're on the sideline kind of waiting for to get involved or to implement these services, I would recommend jumping on board now, because I think the standards committee is ready to hit the gas pedal and really start driving a lot of digital transformation and change in the industry. So as always, Raj and I will hang around here for a few minutes. Q&A or chat, you can fire off questions. Doesn't look like there's any questions to be had. Just so you know, this is being recorded. We do have a Promo Standards YouTube channel. The goal is to cycle through all of the standards as we roll them out, or we've been backfilling some of them. So that way, if you ever have questions, Raj said a lot in 30 minutes, and there's a lot more of nuances in that Raj pointed out that you might miss in the documentation. So, I would recommend, as you turn this over to your dev team or to yourself, you can always use the YouTube channel as a reference when you're for implementation. So, any questions? I know Eric's been bantering a little bit in Slack, so there's a conversation going on in the general channel. Give everybody about 10-15 more seconds to fire off any questions. All right, so no questions. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Raj. Raj, the CIO at Hit Promotional Products, crushing it, saving John from having to do another education session. I love it. So yeah, if you are interested in volunteering and getting involved in education, you can hit myself, Becky, or Amy up. If you're interested in standards committee work, you can hit up Eric or Raj. Or you can always hit up Jessica, admin at promostandards.org. She is the gatekeeper to all things promo standards, questions, issues, whatever. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, most importantly, Raj. Good job. And peace out. See you third Tuesday every month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did not let John down, so I'm good.
Yeah, you did it. You delivered. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Raj. Good job.
Okay.